We are live from Auckland Park in Johannesburg, and we're ready to engage with you on matters that affect you, matters that affect your family, matters that affect your community. The countdown, it has begun to the 20th of March, 2023. Why is that important? Well, we're told protest action on the cards, and that makes it topical. A very good evening to you, South African, those watching around the world. My name is Blaine Herman, and this is It's Topical. Lucia, our digital audience, thank you very much indeed. Good to have them on the program. And as I say every week, digital audience, please put up your virtual hand, and I'll do my very best to get your comments and your questions to our guests on air. We want to assure everyone in the country that the 20th of March will be a normal business day. We want to reiterate to the international community that, contrary to the pronouncements by those advocating for any disruption, all ports of entry, land, sea and air, will be operational. Words contained in the media statement of the JCPS cluster ministers on the planned protest action. That's the Justice, Crime Prevention and Security cluster, by the way. The big question is, will this be the case? The economic freedom fighters calling for, among other things, the end to rolling blackouts and the resignation of President Cyril Ramaphosa. The party says protest action must be executed everywhere in defense and within the confines of this country's constitution. We hear and read that many will heed the call to protest. Others, well, they have distanced themselves from it. Why? Rolling blackouts, it affects all of us, right? In some way or another. Shouldn't that factor alone beckon a nation to take action, galvanize around this protest? Still, you have people saying, not in my name. So, how do you get South Africans roughly concordant around the right approach to address the issues we have and we're battling within this country? The issues such as the electricity crisis is no doubt real and can't be ignored. But what is the best possible way to get results? We will discuss, which leads us to the question of the week. It is basically simple. Will it be business as usual for you on Monday, or are you planning on joining the planned protest action? Come, follow me. Let's get you some context. Look, the question, I guess, is, what would you say is the best way to convince those in power of the righteousness of your cause? What will be impactful? Let us know at the agenda, at It's Topical SABC. It's another life, that one. Perspective coming up. All right, let's get you a sense of what we know and why it matters. And for that, we turn to the magic wall. And we want to tell you about where these protests are happening. Well, to be honest, we know relatively little when it comes to exact location, right? According to the EFF, there's no specific locations. Meaning what? Well, it means that it can basically start anywhere. And there's no exact routes given. In terms of the language used, right, this is a protest, not a march, which I guess it talks to the uncertainty regarding the routes that might be affected with regards to what's happening tomorrow. Best possible scenarios or guesses, educated guesses, one would say. Let's look at this. Now, this is what we say could be affected, right? These are the areas that could be affected. The N1, Limpopo, GP, Free State, Northern Cape, Western Cape. N2, KZN. I will tell you a bit more with regards to KZN and where that might be, the focus point on. Free State, KZN, N3, Free State, KZN, N4, Mpumalanga, GP, N12, Northwest, Northern Cape. With regards to the N14, GP, Northwest, the Northern Cape, as well as the Western Cape, N17, the list goes on, R104, R40. Now, I want to zoom in to Richards Bay and some perspective on this area, right? It's a port of Richards Bay. It handles large volumes of cargo, coal exports being the predominant commodity handle right here. As you can see, lots of trucks normally transporting dry minerals to the harbor. Reportedly, contingency plans in this area to ensure safety. We have a team there deployed at in Richards Bay in general, but obviously we're going to keep a close eye on what happens at this port. Very important indeed. We'll bring you the very latest on this platform. Now, if you're relying on public transport, what do we know with regards to that? Tomorrow, we know that the South African National Taxi Council, they say that they will be operating as normal. They said they met with the EFF and they will respect the protests, and in turn, they were given the assurances that their operation will be respected. The National Taxi Alliance will also be operating. Now, with regards to the bus company Patco, they seem to have made a U-turn. They now say that they will operate its bus services despite earlier decisions not to. According to a statement from Patco, this decision followed an urgent meeting between the Ministry of Transport and the Southern African Bus Operators Association, where government assured the industry that all efforts will be made to protect the public. Catching a flight? Well, what does Access say? Tomorrow, seemingly, you're good to go. Airports Company South Africa says contingency plans are in place to ensure continued operations at all airports. I want to show you this now. So what do we know? What does it all boil down to with regards to the reasons for this protest? The EFF cites the crippling power cuts, right? We're all experiencing it. The rising cost of living and calls for President Cyril Ramaphosa to step down. Now, tips for employers, operational requirements for businesses, important for tomorrow, right? What are the considerations? According to the law firm Cliff, Decker and Hofmeyr, employers may consider any of the following. Have a look at this, right? Preparing for the impact of this national shutdown, as they call it. 1, conduct a risk assessment to assess their exposure to potential risk. 2, consider approving leave for the 20th of March, tomorrow, 2023, as there may be many employees, right, who will not be able to come to work. The third one is implementing flexible working arrangements for the 20th of March, where possible. And finally, concluding agreements to work overtime for the week of 20th, between the 20th to the 24th of March, where relevant. So, let's have a look at this. Responses from government with regards to all of this. You heard it the whole week. President Cyril Ramaphosa warning about disorder. And let's give you a look at this. Disorder and anarchy will not be allowed in South Africa. He goes on to say that, he said, if you are going to restrict the rights of people, if you're going to coerce them, if you're going to intimidate them, if you're going to unleash violence, security forces are going to defend the people of this country. That's what he said. We heard from the security cluster as well, saying that they are fully prepared and well capacitated to handle the planned protests. Minister Bheki Cele speaking to the police, saying, make sure that anyone who breaks the law, they're behind bars. Minister Ntshabeni added that regime change through unconstitutional means will not be tolerated and will not happen in South Africa, she says. And I heard her saying that anyone with ambitions to govern this country must wait to contest the 2024 general elections. So, this is what we're talking about, right? This national shutdown. Context, very important. In a statement, the EFF says that all protest action tomorrow must be militant and radical, yet peaceful. And they are calling on people to protest within the confines of the law. We shall see what happens tomorrow. What do you have to say? A very popular word on the street feature. Earlier we heard from taxi drivers and marshals, as well as commuters and hawkers around the bustling Noord taxi rank in Johannesburg. This is what they had to say. Take a look. We'll come back to that in a short while. We also have my colleague, Make Ketler. Do we have Make Ketler up and running? All right. Now, Make is actually in the Metrobus Mill Park area. He's there to assess the situation. What can we expect? We heard from Patco saying that they will be now operating. Initially, they said it was too risky. What does Metrobus has to say? This is where we are. This is where Make is, Mill Park Depot. He joins us now live, courtesy of Google Earth, by the way. Make, what is the bus company saying? Business as usual tomorrow, or any changes at this stage?
Well, Blaine, good evening. Well, I mean, that's a huge question hanging over, even on top of the roof of this 66-seater Metro bus I'm sitting in. The question is, will this seat here be occupied tomorrow or not? And the other question is, will this driver's seat be occupied as well or not? And will anyone, talking about the commuters, be coming up these stairs here to actually get to their workplaces? Perhaps talking about fear for safety. Let's just bring in one of the commuters. She also speaks for commuters of Metro buses here. Gloria, just talk to us, because obviously there are fears in terms of safety for commuters here. What are they saying on the ground? You speak for them. You are also a commuter here.
Yes, a lot of people are very scared tomorrow what's going to happen, because they know, very unsure about what's going to happen. Also because of the intimidation, being attacked or violence. So yes, that is our great fear, and also if Metrobus will be running tomorrow. So that is the main concern. What's making a whole lot of people scared is because we do have the Winnie Madikizela Mandela building, which is EFF, at Gandhi Square itself. So that raises a lot of uncertainty in people. So yeah, that is the main thing. But seeing as it is tonight where we are here doing this interview, we can give guarantee that the buses will be there tomorrow. You know, I can give to the commuters and say, you know, I've been in talks with people. A lot of people I've been inundated with calls. Will there be buses? What is going to happen tomorrow? Are we being left in the lurch? So I can just say that we can say with surety for now. Now we can say the buses will be running tomorrow morning, and that people will be safe, and we will be taking people to where they need to be tomorrow.
Talking about taking people to where they need to be tomorrow, are there those who are communicating with their employers to say that, listen, we are not sure if we are going to be able to report for duty tomorrow?
I think a lot of people. I've actually spoke to some people where they say their bosses has given them off to work at home tomorrow because they are working on their laptop, so they can do. Just for safety's sake, to keep them safe. So yes, a lot of people will be going, but there are those that need to go in, you know, people that work at Pick and Pay, people that work in the hospitals, commuters, you know, that work every other day. Old people that's got to go to the hospital to get their medication, see doctors. These are the people that we need, you know, and we can say to them for now, there will be buses. You guys are going to be okay.
There should be some form of guarantee, though. Goodwill. You speak for Metrobus. What are you telling the commuters who would want to see themselves working for their families tomorrow?
Okay. Good evening to you and evening to SABC viewers. You are at the depot. You are looking at buses. I'm glad that you also brought one of our commuter forum members. We want to guarantee the citizen of Johannesburg and our over 20,000 commuters that tomorrow Metrobus will be working as normal. You're looking at our buses, you walk out of a very clean and refueled bus, ready to take up. So tomorrow morning, 4:30, our first bus will leave this very depot. So I just want to guarantee and confirm to all our commuters across Johannesburg, whether you are going to Pretoria, we've got 7 buses going to Pretoria, whether you're going to the airport, whether you're going to Sandton from Soweto, all our buses will be out. And we are happy to announce that tomorrow it's a public school holiday. So we'll be able to use additional buses that are responsible for scholars to reinforce in situation where we have shortage, because chances are we'll have a high demand of buses tomorrow, simply because some of the services, by other transport service providers may not be running. So we're ready. It's a pity we don't do evening services. Otherwise, I'm dressed up to even drive a bus if we've got a shortage. But we are ready to serve the citizens. We've got that obligation to serve them. Yeah. The one thing that I want to highlight to our commuters and also the citizens of Johannesburg is that these buses are not only carrying certain passengers. We also have special services. The bus that you were in and the bus next to it, these are buses designed for people with special needs. Wheelchair bound, we've got 7 buses that pick up from home and take people to workplaces and back home. So those will be out as well. We also are responsible for moving South African National Defence Force members in Pretoria from Johannesburg, and those buses will be running. Some of our routes are responsible for essential services. We take people to the hospitals, and that service will also be running. So you can be rest assured that our service will be running, and we are ready to do that.
Yeah. I know when we were off air, you said that you're not into politics, but I'm going to actually just pull your leg here. What do you think of this shutdown protest?
We are not naive, but we are the entity of the city. We will guard against safety. We want to provide a safe service to the citizens. We are responsible for our employees, the drivers. So we will ensure that inspectors, superintendents are out, they scan the environment, they ensure that at least we render the service in an environment that is conducive for safety, because we don't want to risk anyone's life. We want to move people safely tomorrow and make sure that the exact same citizens and passengers are ready the following day and day after, week after. Let me just introduce the depot manager who's been here in the morning to come and look at the buses just to make sure that they are refueled and they are clean, ready for tomorrow. Tate Sali is responsible for the management of this depot day to day, and he is here to make sure that we are good to go tomorrow. So let me just introduce him to you.
All right, so perhaps the question to you is everything up and running for tomorrow? And also perhaps you can also mention the safety issues for commuters here. Should they be worried? Should they not be worried?
They should not be worried. I was here early this morning to ensure our buses are clean and ready for operation tomorrow. We'll have our superintendents out on the road, as well as our inspectors, to ensure the safety of our commuters. They should not be worried. All our buses will be operating from all 3 depots.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
There it is plain. It's all systems go tomorrow from here. I mean, this is one of the largest depots in terms of Metro bus, Blaine. I understand in Gauteng alone, they've got about 275 Metro buses. And they are saying that it's all systems go. They will actually be ferrying people to and from their different destinations.
Yeah, I guess that offers some sort of comfort for those who want to attend work tomorrow, wherever they may be going. Mark Ketlemotlaba, value added as always. Thank you very much indeed. Now, I must state that it's a red background, right? EFF in bold, but there are others that have joined or have put up their hands and said, yeah, we'll support you. SAFTU being one of them. But we will talk about that in a short while. I want to hear from you. It's Topical, SABC. What do you have to say with regards to whether it's business as usual for tomorrow, or are you planning to take to the streets? Now to our Word on the Street feature, where we heard from taxi drivers, marshals, as well as commuters, as hawkers as well, around the bustling Noord taxi rank in Johannesburg. This is what they had to say. Take a look.
Right phela mfowethu EFF ilungisa South Africa yabona nje izinto ezenzakalayo right ngiyivuma kakhulu mama pura maphosa vele yabona ukuthi hayi akenzi kahle wona hayi sifuna ukuthi mhlambe sithole omunye ozokwenza kangcono kunaye yabo
iwitsaro dilo di eme ka maka president a fulo stilweni dilokshedini ba emisa dilo ka maka ba kala tswana yona e right samara president a fulo stilweni a ke tsanle yo
ufailile ukwenza izinto okumitha ama requirement abantu provide abantu so nami ngiyasupporta kodwa noma ngebe ngekho kusona si right strike sibe khona
sinendlala kakhulu thina iCovid isibulele namanje phinze kume futhi imoto ziyakweleta ishona phansi nelive futhi lishona phansi amabhizinisi ashona phansi so ngeke sikhone kuma ngoba thina sifuna umsebenzi.
My concern is obviously just the EFF has proven themselves before to be very violent in the way that they shut things down, and I'm just concerned the people are struggling massively financially, people are going to try and get to work and stuff, and I'm just worried. I think for me the concern is just that they are going to be there's going to be violence or pain in that way, but I totally support somebody standing up and saying, hey, enough is enough, because we are suffering over here.
Opportunities tse tsa bana ba modimo re ba kere mebereko ka di 20 ba ka se di bone so why so ntse re support shutdown mola ka COVID be re go betse sebaka se se ka
100% I'll support the strike regarding to cause like we are struggling a lot of things. We are struggling because it's pain for us, it's pain for the children. Just imagine that children when they have the homeworks, they don't do their homeworks regarding to because there's no electricity.
Ndira right here zingarugisiwa abantu bakotodzura pasi vaamba ngayo vadiscussa ngayo uri songoto vana shutdown.
There's essentially a big rolling dice of a big energy crisis that can only resolve through alternative means, not just replacing the systems of power by itself. Even if a different system of power gets taken in place, it's not going to resolve the situation immediately.
Right, the word on the street, such an important feature. Why? It talks to what you are thinking, what's in your head and your heart, helps shape the strategy to get to better. Let's further this discussion and talk about ways in order to make an impact in terms of what we need in this country right now. Full house, the gang's all here. In studio, let's start here. Temagori, APC President, as well as ATM President, Vuyolwethu Zungula. Thank you very much indeed for your time. Digital audience, we also have Soli Malatsi from the DA and also Brigadier Atlenda Mate, spokesperson to the National Commissioner. We're going to get to all your comments in the short while. I'm told, Soli, that you have some time constraints. Let's just maybe kick it off with you. I understand that your party has welcomed the High Court decision. The protest, though, will go ahead, but there are certain restrictions in terms of, being prohibited from shutting down schools, for instance. The party, that is the EFF, did say that they will protest within the confines of the law. Why was the need to go to court? If you can unmute, Soli.
No, I'm not on mute.
All right, go ahead. We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. Good evening, and good evening to all the viewers. Look, it was very important for the DA to pursue the courts given the public sentiments that were being uttered by various leaders of the EFF and even social media videos that were going around of EFF members mobilizing communities in loud hailers, indicating that they will unleash anything that stands in front of them for them to proceed, even telling businesses that they will have to close on the day, delivering letters to national key points, including OR Tambo. Our view is that while everyone has the right to protest as is protected in the Constitution, the Constitution equally makes it very clear that there shouldn't be an infringement on other people's rights. And it is with that in mind that we approached the courts for two things. One was to ensure that the various demonstrations by the EFF that will be taking place across the country comply with the requirements for a protest. you would know very well that if anyone wants to protest or to march in any location in the country, they must approach their local municipality for a permit to do so. That permit usually comes with a set of conditions, including the gathering point and the route and the end point for such a demonstration. Secondly, it was to ensure that the EFF retracts all those letters that were being distributed to places of business that they must close on the day in order for the shutdown to proceed. And the reality of the situation is that, one, the South African economy has already taken a massive knock over the last 2 years. And to invite another day of loss of economic activity would continue to have devastating impact on many ordinary South Africans who only earn by going to work.
But what about the argument, the pushback would be, we can't sit idle, we have to say something. What's your response to that?
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
No, your response to the pushback or criticism to your comment that would say, look, we can't sit idle, we need to do something. Taking to the streets is one route. How would you respond to that?
Look, the reality, as I indicated from the onset, that there is a way to protest that complies with the laws of this country, and that does not threaten to unleash violence on those individuals who are not partaking in the protest, because it is important that everyone's rights are protected, even the right of others not to participate in this protest or to have their lives disrupted or their businesses being coerced into closure simply because the political party wants to bring the country to a standstill.
All right, I wanted to speak to Brigadier Mate. Let's bring you in. Good to have you on the program. We need some clarity on some issues pertaining to tomorrow. In a statement, I saw the EFF statement, it says, I just want to read it to you. No one, not even the police, have the right to undermine a peaceful demonstration or protest. And they go on to say that they're calling on all protesters to defend themselves from anyone who provokes them with violence. How do you respond to that?
Okay, a very good evening and thank you for the opportunity. As the SAPS, through the National Joint Operational and Intelligence Structure, we are assuring the nation that we have put measures in place to ensure the safety and security of everyone living in South Africa. We have mobilized resources to heighten and increase police visibility and resources.
Oh, we have some issues there, Brig. We'll try to come back to you in a short while. Let's go to Tembagodi first of all. Welcome once again. Important issues to discuss, right? No one is doubting that the issues are real, the issues of electricity, etc. But is this the best possible route to take in order to get the attention of those who control our near future?
Well, I must say that going out on the street is a sign of frustration and a result of non-responsiveness to the challenges that are facing everyday South Africans. As for us as the APC, you recall the SABC covered our marches to ESCOM last year in 7 provinces. And to all of that, there's been no response. And what we've seen, it's a deterioration. And surely people cannot sit idle. The ANC cannot mismanage and mislead in peace. They have to be pushed in order to change course. And the pity about the whole situation is that the narrative now seems to be just on possible violence, with nothing being said about what measures are being taken to address these issues in a manner that will say, we want to render your protest meaningless because we are actively addressing these issues. None of that is being mentioned. And I feel we are being pushed towards a particular narrative without focusing on the issues on the table.
Do you think that, Vuyo, there's this distraction to the issue of violence, real or perceived, and the real issues are being missed here? Having said that, is this the way to go in terms of taking to the street en masse to signal to the authorities that enough is enough?
Definitely. You know, if you can look at the past 3 days, the load shedding has gone down. If you can check the police visibility, it has gone way up. And if you can ask yourself, all of these times, all of these years, why has the government not actually delivered when it comes to providing police visibility, which gives us that impression that the mechanisms are there, the resources are there, but what lacks from the government, it is the actual political will to actually deal with the issues that are affecting the people. If by the government fearing that a march on the 20th is going to expose their mismanagement and they respond by bringing so many police, the question would be, when people are shot in mass in Soweto, why were the police not deployed there? When people are terrorized by illegal miners, why are they not sent there? So we are seeing an arrogant government, because a government that is not arrogant would have said, what are the issues? And these are the steps that we are taking to address those issues. But we are having an arrogant and paranoid government that is saying this is part of regime change, whereas it is not. It is part of holding the executive accountable. We've tried in Parliament through motions of no confidence, Section 89 impeachment processes. We've tried also approaching Chapter 9 institutions, your SARS, and they are protecting this person that is failing. Therefore, the people, which is the citizens of the country, must take it upon themselves to actually express their frustrations through a peaceful demonstration. We've witnessed many marches of the EFF and many other people. There's been no violence, but the narrative that is pushed here now is that there'll be violence simply because they do not want the people to focus on the issues. They want to mislead the people and create a narrative that there'll be violence. And I would not be shocked, lastly, that even the government can sponsor people to wear ATM t-shirts, EFF t-shirts, APC t-shirts, and be violent because they want to distract people from focusing on the issues, but to focus on...
Do you think that's a real threat?
Yeah, definitely. If you look...
Some are calling it, what, agent provocateurs. I think that's the term being used. I wanted to ask Brigadier Mata in terms of how they're being proactive to weed out certain elements that wants to go down the route of violence. But what intel are you getting with regards to that?
Look, we know the ANC and how it operates. Look at other political parties. They even deploy people to political parties to try and destabilize those political parties from within. So I would not be surprised, because what is blatantly clear is that the ANC can see that it is not fit to lead the country. So their mission now is to try and destabilize or destroy the image of any other party that has got the support of the people, any other organization, any other demonstration that is getting the support of the people. So that is basically what is going to happen.
All right, let's try to bring in Brigadier Mata here once again. Brigadier, I hope your line is better. Obviously, we hope that lessons were learned in terms of the July unrest that we experienced. In terms of, look, what we're talking about and what the EFF calls the agent provocateurs, who they say will try to hijack and undermine this protest. How are you being proactive in this regard, from social media to being on the ground, in order to weed out elements that want to cause violence?
Okay, so just responding to what Mr. Godi said, as the SAPS, through the NAT joints, all our operations are intelligence-driven, so we are responding according to the threat that has been analyzed. In the last financial year, we have successfully responded and gave attention to 8,753 crowd-related incidents in the country. And you will not hear the media talking about that, because we have managed to police those particular protests successfully. So also in the last financial year, we saw 1.2 million suspects arrested for various crimes. So it is not true that we are not heightening police visibility. We are heightening police visibility and the work of our members on the ground to ensure that we prevent and combat any acts of criminality. So going back to your question, we want to assure the nation that as the SAPS, through the National Joint and Operational and Intelligence Structure, we have put measures in place to ensure that we prevent and combat any forms of criminality. We want to assure the nation that on Monday, it's a normal working and business day. We have maximized all our resources to ensure that no acts of criminality and lawlessness takes place. But most importantly, we have maximized all our resources and deployments to ensure that those that will be protesting, we protect them. We have a duty and obligation according to our constitutional mandate, but also those that will not be partaking in the particular protest, we need to also ensure that are and feel safe at all times.
You say it's going to be a normal day. I don't think it's probably far from normal when you see South African National Defence Force, for instance, on the streets. Many would consider that abnormal. Just talk to us about the relationship or the support that the SANDF will be providing as it relates to the South African Police Service and their duties.
Okay, so you will recall that the SANDF is a key stakeholder within the National Joint Operational and Intelligence Structure, which is the operational arm of the JCPS cluster. Together with the SSA and the SAPS, we are leading that particular government structure. And our role is to ensure the safety and security of everyone. So the role of the SANDF will be to support police operations in ensuring that we prevent and combat any acts of criminality. We maintain public order. We uphold and enforce the law, but most importantly, that we protect everyone within the borders of South Africa. As I've indicated earlier, we've got a duty and obligation to protect both the protesters and those that will not be taking part in the protests.
All right, Big, stay with us if you can. I see your digital audience, it's lighting up in terms of hands. We're going to come to you in a short while, our guest as well. We're going to need to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to discuss with regards to what role social media also can play in protests such as this. More next. Welcome back. You're watching It's Topical. Will you be going to work tomorrow? Business as usual, so to speak, or taking to the streets in protest? Let us know at It's Topical SABC. Let's go to our digital audience, get their take in terms of what we can expect. Lawrence, tell us, you support this protest?
Thank you very much, Blaine. The first and foremost thing is that we may pretend that it will be business as usual, but our consciousness is deep enough to understand that things can no longer go on the way they have been going. It's a question of whether the power that we have entrusted on the state has been exercised in a manner that allows us to put food on the table at the end of the night, that allows us to be confident our kids are safe in schools, that allows us to be confident that police are going to be there on the streets to safeguard our well-being. So it can never be business as usual. We may pretend, but it won't be business as usual tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Let's go to Mbuso. Mbuso, if you can unmute. I understand that you are a political science student. From that vantage point, how do you see this? How big of a test is it for the EFF ahead of next year's elections?
Greetings to everyone. First and foremost, tomorrow will be an interesting day for the political landscape of South Africa. My stance is I firstly criticize the hypocrisy of the media. Let's go back to history when the former President Zuma, there was a protest and so on. August 3, 2017, companies were asked to release workers so that they could go on and march. But now we are seeing a different approach. Why are companies quiet? So we are seeing that they are not giving the same energy. Yes, the issues are continuing and perpetuating. And I'm really interested in seeing how things will pan out, because some people are against the strike because they are speaking from the position of privilege. They have everything. So others are supporting the strike because they are struggling. They have 8 to 9 hours of load shedding. They were promised houses, yes, even they live in shacks. So it remains to be seen, but all we can hope and pray for is that it gives us a way forward, because one thing I always say to my other colleagues, it was ever since Ramaphosa came to the office, and we know that COVID happened, we have not seen any recovery strategy that will mostly benefit the people. ESCOM is struggling. What is the recovery plan for that? We see that there is an appointment of ministers and all of that, but ESCOM trying other alternatives to produce electricity. Are they trying hydroelectricity? Are they relying on solar to produce electricity?
So various issues. So I guess, look, you speak about the frustration that is so palpable in many homes, right? Especially with regards to the load shedding issues. Thanks for Mbuso. Kim, do you see it that way? I mean, some would argue, I mean, you've seen a plethora of protest actions over the years. What has really changed? Is this worth it?
Well, I think we need to reframe the discussion a little bit, because actually it's Cyril Ramaphosa and the ANC that have shut down the nation with the most terrible mismanagement and inability to deal with historical injustices and poverty. So I think I've written an article this week where I said the anger and condemnation should be directed against them. Just also to say this is not a protest, just a random protest. Neither is it an EFF protest. It's a people's protest. And we see a collective of very powerful and legitimate, and I'm using that word deliberately, political parties such as the PAC, APC, ATM, and you've got outstanding leaders with you tonight. We see a black collective unity, which has been lacking in this country. And I would like to commend everybody and all the parties that have joined together under, yes, the EFF led it. But just before I go, protest is important, because what is left for the people? We have an unresponsive government. We have a government that has not taken accountability. And I would like to say I was involved in the EFF as a member and actually as an official in 2014. And I want to make the point that I was in many marches and there was no violence. In fact, to the contrary, there was high discipline. So good luck to the protesters. It's shameful that we have an illegitimate government who's using violence against ordinary citizens.
Let's take that a bit forward and bring in Brigadier Mate. There's been calls for police to act with restraint when dealing with protesters. What does restraint mean to the police?
Okay, so absolutely, as the SAPS, we are going to ensure that our members execute their duties within the confines of the law. So basically, when we talk about restraint, we are saying we will use minimum force, which is reasonably necessary depending on the circumstances on the ground. So what we analyze and what we find on the ground is how we will respond as law enforcement, but we are assuring the nation that we will be exercising maximum constraint and that we have a duty and obligation to protect everyone within the borders of this country. But what is important is that we remind the conveners of this particular protest that while it is everyone's constitutional right to protest, rights come with responsibility, they come with accountability, and we are reminding them to ensure that the gathering at all time proceeds peacefully in an orderly manner and that their supporters abide by the country's laws.
Right. Solly, with regards to the issue of protests and voting, two mechanisms important in order to get improved service delivery, you would agree. The DA has had its fair share of protest actions or marches. I wonder what has fundamentally changed and how that informs your overview or look at the relationship between protests and voting.
Look, nothing has changed. I mean, you know, the difference between the right to protest and peaceful engagement and this purported shutdown is that the purported shutdown intends to also infringe on the rights of others. And that is something that we are against, and that is why we took the proactive step that we took with pursuing the matter to the court, so that the courts of this country can, one, underscore the importance of abiding to the laws of this country, and secondly, protecting the rights of law-abiding South Africans. There are millions of law-abiding South Africans who want to go on with their lives tomorrow. There are millions of entrepreneurs who want to open their businesses tomorrow, and it is unfair on them to have their businesses closed or their lives disrupted simply because one organization wants to do that. Secondly, it is important, yes, that ultimately the channel to change governments or to vote for a government that people want is through the ballot. And that is ultimately where political parties contest the power at. That is at the ballot. But we cannot have a situation wherein we promote or condone the use of inflammatory language that intends to infringe on the rights of others. I don't think it is on to have reps of political parties, for instance, going into private businesses, climbing on top of tills, urging people that they shouldn't be opening. Because the reality is that while they exercise their right, they are undermining other people's rights.
Right. Thembogodi, some have argued that protests work, but not in the time frame and the way we expect it to work. Do you think we have unrealistic expectations in terms of getting results from protests?
Well, look, to achieve anything, it's a process, and protests themselves are part of that process. And I wish we had spent the half hour talking about the issues, because if the issues are addressed, then you take away the need, to protest. But instead, we're focusing on the threat. And for some of us who are disciples of Robert Sobukwe, on the eve of the Sharpeville shooting, we know very well that he has warned who benefits from violence. Surely cannot be the poor people who are struggling. So we're very clear. Our main focus is on the issues that affect the people and the need for solutions that the incompetent ANC government is failing to do. And they're trying to cover it up by bringing up issues that take away the focus from the fact that they are failing the country and they need to be held accountable. So from where I'm standing tomorrow, Kruger Square in Tshwane will be there. There will be no violence. There should be no issues. It does not serve our cause. Instead, it actually obscures the issues. We want the issues to come to the fore so that we can debate the issues.
Let's talk about the issues, Vuyo, and the use of social media in that regard. Do you think it adds or takes away from the credibility or the credence of these issues in this day and age? Do you think it detracts from it in any way?
Look, just now, one of the videos that was shown was the video of the looting of 2021. So I think the greatest responsibility lies on the mainstream media, because the messaging that is coming out from the mainstream media is that of violence. Look, that's the video as we're speaking now. Now, what does that say? Psychologically, people are being made to believe tomorrow there's going to be such violence. Has any party promised violence? The answer is no. Also, look at the DA. The DA marched to Luthuli House, and I can assure you, when they were marching to Luthuli House, the street hawkers on that street were affected. The taxi drivers that use that route were affected. Now, it cannot be that when when it's convenient for them, they're saying that other people's lives must not be affected by protests, whereas when they are protesting, other people's lives get to be affected as well. So in our view as the ATM, tomorrow is going to be a peaceful day, and we agree with Tatana Godi when he's saying, let us focus on the issues, because Mr. Ramaphosa has failed. If you can look at the track record from 2018 up until now, 47 people were killed beginning of 2018 per day. Now we're talking about 72 people killed on a daily basis. Unemployment was sitting at 25%. Now it is sitting at 35%. The growth of debt to GDP has gone very, very high. So if you look at all indicators, there's not even one indicator a person can say, Mr. Ramaphosa has turned things around for the country. And people cannot sit idle and hope that one day things will come right right, but they need to take a stand. And a protest, a peaceful protest, is one of the mechanisms that people are actually taking a stand, because this is their only country. It is their interest that the government of the country actually governs well, because if the government is not governing well, it is the people that are killed. It is the people that sleep every day on an empty stomach. That is why we want to encourage all South Africans to peacefully protest and peacefully take a stand that they cannot, it cannot be business as usual. And the government can't relax. Mr. Ramaphosa and his cabinet can't relax and enjoy their time, whereas people are struggling because the people are getting killed like flies. Therefore, it is their right as a people to take a stand, because it is the only way in which the country can turn from bad to, can turn things around, so that we do not continue in this direction whereby the country is leading towards being a failed state.
Vuyo says we can't have business as usual. Lindo Kuhle Kulu from Patco. That statement affects your business going forward. Patco originally said that they're going to suspend services. I understand that you take, 150,000 commuters a day, correct me if I'm wrong, but now a U-turn, you will be operating. Why the sudden change?
That's right, Blaine. Thank you so much for involving us in the conversation. The reason why we had initially suspended our operations was because we were concerned about the issue of safety. We had to answer a very simple question when we met with top management at Patco, and that was, are we going to be able to ensure and to guarantee the safety of our passengers as well as our staff? An internal investigation was done, and the simple answer was no, because of the fact that things might spiral out of control. But one of the things that we had to do then was to go back and meet with the Minister of Transport, who then urged us to say that we must in fact operate, and that the necessary security measures have been put in place. I think one of the things that we must state very clearly is the fact that we are an apolitical company. The fact that we are actually inundated with getting people to their destinations, and that is exactly what we're obsessed with as a company. Other things are outside our ambit because we are a transporting company. But the issue now becomes the fact that we have in fact been now, intimidated, or should I say threatened, to say that our buses may be used to actually take people to the picket lines. And for us, that is a concern, because you're looking at 150 to 200,000 people per day, Blaine. And
so what happens? What happens if that materializes? Would the call be made in the morning to suspend operation? Is there still a chance? Yeah.
In trying to preempt the situation, if things actually spiral out of control, then it means that 200,000 people are not able to go to work. And I should say that we transport among our commuters some of the poorest of the poor, who literally spend all of their money to actually be able to secure that monthly ticket or weekly ticket. So if you look at it in that way, it means that a domestic worker, it means that a person who works in the retail sector will not be able to go back to work. So you're looking at the holistic picture here of saying that people are fighting for what they believe will be a long-term solution, but for our commuters, the long-term solution is literally month-end, where they need to feed their families. And if we're not able to take them to work, that is the reality that they must live with, the fact that they cannot afford in an already economic turbulent time.
So, Kulu, thank you very much indeed. Time is fast running out, but I see a number of hands. Let's try to get to Mangaliso. Mangaliso, if you can unmute. Are you convinced by the common, approach to this whole protest, saying that there will be peace, it will be peaceful, but more importantly to the issue that Mr. Tembagodi was raising, is it detracting all this talk of violence, etc., from the real issues at hand?
Thank you very much. I'd like to make it clear that the EFF has never in any of their national communication, provincial or regional structures indicated any form of violence. The EFF has only put it clear to the country that on the 20th of March, they are pleading with the nation, they are pleading with fellow citizens who have been affected by load shedding, who live in darkness, who have experienced their business being shut down based on the lack of power grid, who have experienced high number of crime, who have experienced high levels of unemployment,
even those who have been shutting down before the EFF in different campuses for education, for employment opportunities for graduates, and they only set a date with the state, which is tomorrow, 20th of March. And if we can all look here who's being violent, it is the state that is deploying the highest armed personnel in the country, which is SANDF. It is the state that is deploying intelligence. It is the state that is deploying big hippos. The EFF is only galvanizing people and citizens to go on the street. The EFF has never given anyone a gun, has never given anyone any form of tool that can be used for violence. It is the state that is bringing its monopoly of violence to the people, trying to silence the issues of the people.
Right, I'm told we're fast running out of time, but thank you very much indeed. Point taken. Digital audience, I do want to apologize if we didn't get to you. We'll try to invite you in the next show as well, or try to get your comments and put it up on our socials. To all our guests as well, thank you very much indeed for your time, value added indeed. Before I go, here's my take. Protests at times exposes the powerful's perfidy used as a tool to get the attention of the powerful the world over. In France, they are currently protesting President Macron's move to raise the pension age from 62 to 64. In Israel, for the 11th week now, protests over aspects of that country's judicial system. Question: do we have a realistic expectation regarding the end goals of protests? Do we wake up the next day, the next week, the next month, and expect things to fundamentally change? Consequences are in part speed of process, right? Protests can give fresh impetus to those who, to a certain extent, control our future. But to what extent does it make a difference in this day and age? Counter-argument. Is it a case of shut down or shut up and live with the consequences? We have to do something. You heard it. Standing idle is a no-no. I get both sides of the argument. For me, the primary mission of a protest is to say to those in power that change is not a weakness. But in conveying that message, we need to ask ourselves, yes, I have a right to do this, but is it the right thing to do, given where we are in our fight for better? The choice is yours. And that's my take. If you missed anything, be sure to watch this episode of It's Topical on YouTube. Until next week, my brothers and sisters, take care. Bye-bye.